In a distant galaxy, arrogant alien scientists discovered ancient ruins on a desolate world they believed to be the remnants of a primitive species. They laughed at the crude designs and rudimentary technology until the structures awakened, revealing a power that defied all logic. The expedition from the illustrious Salarian Empire descended upon the barren world with confidence and curiosity. Their ships glided effortlessly through the planet's thin atmosphere, landing amidst desolation. Dust storms swept across the cracked earth, whispering echoes of a long-forgotten past. To the Salarians, this was merely another unremarkable world, one of many they had cataloged in their endless quest for knowledge. Yet hidden beneath layers of dust and sand, their advanced scanners detected sprawling formations, remnants of a once great civilization. The structures stretched for miles, forming a labyrinth of corridors and chambers intricately connected by pathways long since eroded by time. Intrigued, the Silurians deployed their survey teams to investigate, eager to unearth the secrets of this ancient world. As they approached the ruins, the aliens observed the towering edifices, constructed from a blend of metal and stone that had miraculously withstood the ravages of time. Pillars lay shattered across the ground, and archways loomed above, their designs both angular and precise, suggesting a meticulous architectural vision. Yet the Silurians were unimpressed. To them, the structures appeared crude and unsophisticated, lacking the elegance and complexity they expected from an advanced race. They noted the intricate carvings that adorned the walls, geometric patterns interwoven with symbols they could not decipher. The markings seemed to flow like rivers across the stone surfaces, converging at key points within the architecture. Despite the obvious intentionality behind these designs, the scientists dismissed them as primitive artwork, perhaps a form of religious iconography from a race that never grasped rational science. The lead scientist, a veteran archaeologist known for his condescension towards lesser civilizations, scoffed at the exposed wiring embedded in the walls. The cables appeared haphazardly arranged, zigzagging without any discernible order. In his eyes, this was the work of a species that had only a rudimentary understanding of technology, incapable of organizing complex systems. He cataloged the wires as artifacts of a civilization that never reached beyond basic electrical currents, a curiosity at best. Further exploration revealed hollowed chambers filled with rusted metallic husks. They were clearly machines, though their purposes remained unclear. Some appeared to be terminals with blank screens, while others resembled generators, long since powered down. The Silurians scanned the devices, searching for traces of energy or signs of functionality. But the readings were barren: no power signatures, no magnetic fields, no life. To the Silurians, this confirmed their suspicions. This species had been hopelessly primitive, unable to master even the simplest energy sources. They cataloged the ruins as the remnants of a failed society, one that had perhaps succumbed to natural disasters or self-destruction. Their arrogance blinded them to the truth that lay dormant beneath their feet. For in their haste to judge, they failed to recognize the patterns of energy that flowed in harmony with the carvings, concealed just beyond the reach of their technology. As they continued their examination, the Silurians remained oblivious to the faint hum resonating beneath the surface, a pulse that synchronized with the planet itself. The ruins were not dead, they were merely waiting, patiently, for the right trigger to awaken. The Silurians prided themselves on being the pinnacle of evolution, a species whose intellect had shaped empires across galaxies. Their civilization was ancient and powerful, their technology unmatched. They had mastered interstellar travel, harnessed the energy of stars, and even manipulated the fabric of space-time. To them, all other species were mere footnotes in the grand narrative of the cosmos, primitive beings who could never hope to match Silurian brilliance. This arrogance permeated every aspect of their society, including their scientific endeavors. They approached each discovery with a sense of superiority, assuming that no other race could have achieved anything beyond rudimentary engineering. The ruins on this desolate world were no exception. To the Silurians, these were simply remnants of another failed species, one that had barely scratched the surface of technological progress before fading into obscurity. As they navigated the sprawling corridors, the Silurians recorded their observations with clinical detachment. Their notes were laced with condescension, mocking the angular architecture as simplistic and unimaginative. They saw no elegance in the designs, no innovation in the construction. To them, the builders had lacked vision, constrained by their limited intellect and resources. They failed to see the harmony in the structures, the way each piece fit seamlessly into the whole, interconnected with an underlying purpose they could not grasp. The carvings on the walls fascinated them, but not for their beauty or complexity. Instead, the Silurians regarded them as quaint relics of a primitive culture's superstition. They believed the geometric patterns were mere decorations or, at best, a rudimentary form of writing used by a species incapable of developing digital communication. Their translators failed to decode the symbols, reinforcing their belief that the ancient civilization had been hopelessly backward. No one considered that the carvings might be a language far more advanced than any they had encountered, a multidimensional script that encoded information beyond the constraints of linear thought. Their arrogance blinded them to the possibility that the symbols were alive, changing form with the flow of energy within the walls. Their scorn extended to the machinery they found scattered throughout the ruins. The devices were unlike anything the Silurians had seen before, constructed from alloys they could not identify. The machines were strangely elegant in their design, with smooth curves and seamless joints, as if they had been grown rather than manufactured. Yet the Silurians saw only primitive technology, obsolete relics from a bygone era. They attempted to activate the machines, using their own advanced tools to interface with the ancient systems. When nothing responded, they mocked the species' inability to maintain power sources. They assumed the devices were flawed or incomplete, never considering that the machines were intentionally dormant, awaiting a command that could not be given by alien hands. Their scanners failed to detect the faint energy fields humming within the ruins, harmonizing with frequencies beyond Silurian perception. The Silurians were too focused on electromagnetic spectra and conventional power sources to notice the quantum vibrations that resonated through the walls. The ruins were alive, connected to a power grid that spanned dimensions, but to the Silurians, they were merely broken relics. They continued to explore, their arrogance unshaken even as they encountered increasingly complex mechanisms. They dismissed the sophisticated circuitry as chaotic and illogical, failing to see the elegant symmetry hidden within the designs. They could not comprehend that the systems were non-linear, operating on principles that defied conventional physics. The Silurians concluded that the civilization had been incapable of advancing beyond basic engineering, and they prepared to leave, having cataloged the ruins as historical curiosities. Yet, as they finalized their reports, the ruins seemed to hum in anticipation, the carvings glowing faintly before dimming once more. The ancient architects had foreseen this arrogance, designing their creation to remain dormant until challenged by a worthy mind. But the Silurians were too blinded by pride to recognize the genius before them. They saw themselves as supreme beings, incapable of being surpassed. Their ignorance would soon prove to be their undoing, for the ruins were far more than they appeared, waiting patiently for the moment they would awaken and reveal the truth. Deep within the heart of the ancient ruins, a forgotten mechanism lay dormant, patiently waiting for centuries. It was intricately woven into the architecture, concealed beneath layers of stone and metal, invisible to even the most advanced Silurian scanners. The mechanism was sensitive, designed to respond only to a precise trigger, a pattern of movement that aligned with the builder's intent. The lead scientist, oblivious to the delicate balance he was disturbing, stepped onto a seemingly ordinary stone plate embedded in the floor. It sank under his weight with a soft, almost imperceptible click. For a moment, nothing happened. The Silurians continued their investigation, mocking the crude designs and taking measurements they deemed insignificant. But beneath their feet, ancient circuits sparked to life. A pulse of energy surged through hidden conduits, racing through the walls like veins carrying blood to a heart that was beginning to beat once more. The air grew heavy with static, and the ground vibrated with a low hum that resonated deep within the ruins. Dust cascaded from the high ceilings, swirling in spirals as unseen forces disturbed the stagnant air. The walls responded, igniting with a dim, pulsating glow. Symbols carved into the stone shimmered, their geometric patterns dancing with rhythmic light. The Silurians were stunned, their arrogance giving way to shock as they watched the carvings shift and rearrange themselves. The once static designs morphed into complex equations and coded sequences, flowing like liquid across the walls. It was as if the very stone had become alive, communicating in a language they could not decipher. Their instruments went haywire, struggling to measure the energy fields now emanating from every corner of the ruins. Power levels soared off the charts, reaching magnitudes that defied known physics. The energy was unlike anything they had encountered, resonating on frequencies that exceeded the limits of Solarian understanding. Panic rippled through the expedition as they realized the ruins were far more than they had assumed. The ancient circuits continued to awaken, following a predetermined sequence that activated one chamber after another. Pathways that had been dark for millennia were now illuminated, guiding streams of light that intertwined like celestial rivers. The energy moved with purpose, forming grids and nodes that connected the entire complex in a vast neural network. What the Solarians had dismissed as haphazard wiring was, in fact, an elaborate system of conduits designed to transmit energy across dimensions. The ruins were not powered by conventional means, they tapped into a source that transcended space and time. This civilization had mastered the manipulation of quantum fields, harnessing energies that could reshape reality itself. Their mocking laughter turned to fear as the machinery around them stirred. Metallic structures shifted, gears turning with mechanical precision. Walls slid apart, revealing hidden chambers filled with glowing orbs suspended in mid-air, rotating slowly in patterns that defied gravity. The orbs emitted beams of light that intersected at precise angles, forming holographic displays that depicted celestial bodies and cosmic events. The displays showed galaxies in motion, stars being born and dying, and black holes bending the fabric of space. Time itself seemed to flow differently within the holograms, accelerating and reversing in a cycle that spanned eons. The Solarians watched in awe, realizing they were witnessing a knowledge so advanced that it surpassed even their own. It became clear that the ruins were not remnants of a primitive race, but the legacy of beings who had understood the universe on a level beyond Solarian comprehension. The structures were repositories of knowledge, safeguarding the secrets of creation and destruction. The power they harnessed was not merely technological, it was existential, linked to the very forces that governed reality. As the ruins continued to awaken, the ground beneath the Solarians trembled, and the light intensified. The energy fields expanded, warping space around them. They felt their bodies pulled and stretched as gravitational waves rippled through the chambers. Their arrogance had blinded them to the truth, leading them to trigger forces they could neither control nor understand. The ancient architects had foreseen this possibility. They had designed the ruins to awaken only when disturbed by minds too arrogant to comprehend their purpose. The Solarians had proven themselves unworthy, and now the ruins were preparing to defend their secrets. The air grew colder, and the light took on a menacing hue as the energy continued to build, preparing for the next stage of activation. The ruins were alive with energy, humming with a resonance that vibrated through every stone and metal beam. The ancient architects had been masterful engineers, not merely building structures but designing systems that could think, adapt, and defend. The Solarians were about to face the full might of an intelligence they could neither comprehend nor control. As the energy pulsed through the conduits, the holographic displays shifted, their celestial images dissolving into complex geometric patterns. These were not mere symbols, they were algorithms, calculations unfolding in real time, adapting to the presence of the intruders. The ruins were assessing the Solarians, scanning their technology, mapping their biological signatures, and evaluating their intentions. Then, as if reaching a conclusion, the ruins responded. The air grew charged, crackling with electromagnetic currents that danced across the walls. The carvings brightened, their luminescence growing sharp and piercing. The once beautiful designs warped into angular, aggressive shapes, aligning themselves into defense grids. It was no longer art, it was weaponry, ancient but powerful, designed to protect the knowledge housed within. An invisible barrier surged through the corridors, a ripple in space that distorted the light around it. It moved swiftly, enveloping the Solarians before they could react. Their advanced suits and shields flickered, their technology struggling to counter the force fields that restrained them. The Solarians were immobilized, suspended mid-step as the energy coiled around them, tightening like a predator's grasp. Panic set in as their instruments malfunctioned. Communication devices emitted only static. Their scanners displayed incomprehensible data, and their weapons were rendered useless. The ruins were not merely containing them, they were neutralizing their capabilities, stripping them of the technology they had so arrogantly flaunted. To the ancient architects, the Solarians were intruders, and the system responded accordingly. The defense mechanism evolved further, manipulating the gravity within the chambers. The floor shifted, pulling downward with immense force before abruptly reversing, hurling the Solarians against the ceilings. They were tossed about like puppets, helpless against the gravitational fields that altered with precise timing and intensity. The ruins were testing them, analyzing their resilience, and breaking their pride. Meanwhile, the machines embedded in the walls activated, their smooth surfaces sliding open to reveal pulsating nodes. These devices projected beams of light that weaved through the air, forming lattices that crackled with electrical energy. The Solarians felt the static prickling their skin, the charged atmosphere pressing in on them. Then the energy converged, creating arcs of plasma that danced menacingly, ready to strike. The ruins were not simply defending themselves, they were retaliating. The architects had designed them to recognize threats and respond with overwhelming force. These were not mere traps, they were intelligent countermeasures, calculated to subdue any who dared violate the sanctity of the knowledge preserved here. The Solarians were outmatched, their arrogance shattered by the sheer power of the ancient technology. In their desperation, they tried to retreat, stumbling through corridors that seemed to stretch endlessly. The architecture was shifting, reconfiguring itself to confuse and disorient. Walls moved, pathways collapsed, and new passages opened, leading them deeper into the labyrinth. It was as if the ruins were alive, reshaping themselves to prevent escape. The Solarians were trapped, lost within a structure that was infinitely more advanced than they had ever imagined. They were no longer explorers or conquerors, they were prisoners, at the mercy of an intelligence that was methodical and relentless. The carvings on the walls glowed ominously, their geometric patterns rotating and locking into place, sealing exits and reinforcing barriers. The ruins were preparing for the final phase, an ultimate measure to protect the secrets they guarded. Amid the chaos, the energy levels continued to rise, the vibrations intensifying until the very air shimmered. The ancient architects had planned for this, anticipating the arrival of beings who would underestimate the power concealed within these walls. The defense mechanism was precise, calculated to demonstrate the price of arrogance. The Solarians, once so confident in their superiority, now faced the wrath of a civilization that had surpassed them in every way. The ruins were not relics of a failed race. They were the legacy of a people who had mastered the very fabric of existence. The Solarians had awakened something they could not control, and the consequences would be devastating. Amidst the chaos of shifting walls and crackling energy fields, the truth began to reveal itself. The Solarians, disoriented and powerless, found themselves herded into a vast chamber at the heart of the ruins. The room was colossal, its ceiling vanishing into darkness above, its walls covered with carvings that glowed with a rhythmic pulse. The symbols danced in complex patterns, interlocking and evolving, forming sequences that defied conventional logic. At the center of the chamber stood an immense structure, a monolith of translucent material that radiated a soft, ethereal light. It pulsed in harmony with the patterns on the walls, synchronized to an invisible rhythm that resonated through the very fabric of the ruins. The monolith was not merely a relic, it was alive, a conduit for the energy flowing through the ancient complex. The Solarians gazed upon it in awe, their arrogance momentarily forgotten as they felt the overwhelming power emanating from its core. The air around the monolith shimmered, distorting light and space, bending reality itself. The structure was a focal point, a nexus that connected dimensions, channeling forces beyond their comprehension. It was then that they understood they were standing before the heart of the civilization they had so easily dismissed. The carvings accelerated their movement, rotating faster as the chamber thrummed with increasing energy. The patterns merged into a cohesive design, forming a spiral that ascended the walls, encircling the monolith. The symbols pulsed in sequences that conveyed meaning, a language of light and geometry that transcended words. The Solarians' neural interfaces struggled to decode the data, overwhelmed by the sheer complexity of the information. Then, the monolith projected a beam of light into the center of the chamber, expanding into a holographic display that encompassed the entire room. Celestial bodies appeared, galaxies swirling in majestic spirals, nebulae bursting with color, and black holes warping space. Time seemed to accelerate as stars were born and died in an instant, entire civilizations rising and falling in the blink of an eye. The Solarians realized they were witnessing the history of the universe itself, recorded and preserved by the ancient architects. This was no primitive culture, it was a civilization that had understood the cosmos at its most fundamental level. They had mapped the fabric of reality, charting the flow of energy across dimensions, and encoded it all within the walls of these ruins. The hologram shifted, focusing on a single blue planet surrounded by a vibrant energy field. The Solarians recognized the world instantly Earth. They watched as the hologram displayed scenes of human life, from the earliest hunter-gatherers to the rise of vast empires and technological revolutions. They saw humanity's triumphs and failures, wars and discoveries, moments of brilliance and acts of compassion. But the vision did not end there. The display continued, revealing humanity's mastery of science and energy, achievements that rivaled even the Solarians' own. They saw humans unlocking the secrets of quantum fields, manipulating gravity, and bending time itself. It was a future they had never imagined, a destiny that defied their belief in their own superiority. The monolith was a repository, a vault that safeguarded the knowledge of a civilization that had transcended physical existence. The architects had been human, their genius surpassing even the Solarians' most advanced technology. They had created this place as a testament to their legacy, a beacon for those who would come after, and a warning to those who dared underestimate them. As the holograms faded, the monolith's light grew brighter, pulsing in a rhythm that resonated with the carvings on the walls. The chamber hummed with power, the energy fields converging on the Solarians. They felt the vibrations intensify, resonating within their very beings. As the ruins completed their analysis, the architects had anticipated this encounter, designing the system to evaluate the intruders and judge their worthiness. The truth was undeniable: the Solarians were deemed unworthy. Their arrogance had blinded them, leading them to scorn a civilization whose brilliance eclipsed their own. They had mocked the ruins, failing to see the genius behind every design, the purpose within every pattern. Now the defense mechanism was ready to carry out its final function, ensuring that the knowledge of humanity would remain protected. The monolith's light reached a blinding intensity, and the carvings glowed with fierce brilliance. The chamber trembled as the ancient machinery surged with power, ready to unleash the architect's last line of defense. The Solarians stood frozen, overwhelmed by the realization that their superiority was an illusion. They had walked into a trap set by minds far greater than their own, and the consequences would be devastating. The chamber vibrated with a force that shook the very ground beneath the Solarians, sending shockwaves through the ancient stone. The monolith's light grew impossibly bright, bathing the room in a radiant glow that defied the shadows, erasing the darkness. The carvings on the walls spiraled faster, their patterns shifting into symmetrical designs that seemed to watch the intruders with silent, calculating eyes. The ruins were alive, guided by an intelligence that was ancient yet undiminished by time. The architects had not merely created a monument to their knowledge, they had infused it with their consciousness, a sentient system designed to evaluate and protect. The defense mechanism was not just reacting, it was judging, assessing the worthiness of those who dared to enter its sacred halls. The Solarians, once proud and arrogant, now stood paralyzed by fear. Their limbs were frozen, suspended in mid-motion by invisible fields that held them in place. Their neural interfaces were flooded with static, overwhelmed by the electromagnetic interference saturating the air. They were helpless, prisoners of a force they could not understand, stripped of the technology they had so confidently wielded. The monolith's beam of light widened, encompassing each Solarian individually. It scanned them with meticulous precision, its glow penetrating their bodies, analyzing their biology, and mapping the neural patterns of their minds. It was more than a physical scan. It was an evaluation of their very essence, a judgment of their intentions and morality. The architects had designed the system to look beyond appearances, to see the truth within. Images began to form within the light, swirling like mist before solidifying into vivid scenes. They depicted the Xylarians' past, their conquests across galaxies, the subjugation of weaker species, and the destruction of worlds deemed unworthy of preservation. The holograms displayed their cruelty, their exploitation of resources, and their unwavering belief in their own supremacy. The ruins were learning, extracting the memories of the invaders, understanding their culture and values. The architects had foreseen this encounter, knowing that one day beings of power and arrogance would come, seeking to plunder their knowledge. They had designed the judgment to be fair but unforgiving, to test the hearts and minds of those who ventured into their sanctuary. The light grew colder, its hue shifting to a sharp, icy blue as the monolith's judgment solidified. The carvings on the walls responded, their glowing patterns locking into rigid geometries that radiated authority. The chamber felt heavier, the air dense with a presence that weighed upon the Xylarians' very souls. They were found wanting, their arrogance and cruelty sealing their fate. Suddenly, the energy fields around them constricted, tightening with merciless precision. The Xylarians felt pressure on their chests, their limbs, their minds. It was not merely physical force, it was existential, a manipulation of reality itself. The ruins were bending space, warping the fabric of dimensions, altering the very nature of existence. The architects had mastered these forces, and now they wielded them as judgment. The ground beneath the Xylarians shifted, transforming into liquid light that absorbed their feet, anchoring them in place. The chamber's architecture continued to move, walls sliding and rearranging, forming patterns that aligned with the monolith's pulsing light. The entire structure was a machine, an intricate device designed for a singular purpose, to preserve the knowledge of humanity and to eliminate those unworthy of it. The monolith's light intensified, its radiance piercing through the Xylarians, stripping away their illusions of power and superiority. They were exposed, vulnerable, their minds laid bare before the ancient intelligence. The architect's judgment was harsh, rooted in millennia of wisdom and experience. They saw through the Xylarians' pretenses, recognizing the greed and ambition that drove them. The air grew colder still, and the light shifted once more, now gleaming with a metallic, unforgiving sheen. The defense mechanism had reached its verdict. The ruins would not allow such beings to inherit the legacy of their creators. The knowledge within these walls was too precious, too dangerous to fall into the hands of the unworthy. The energy surged, the carvings flaring with blinding intensity. The monolith's light became solid, a pillar of energy that connected with the spiraling patterns on the walls, activating circuits that had lain dormant for millennia. The chamber trembled, and the gravity shifted, pressing down on the Xylarians with crushing force. They could feel their bodies compressing, their bones creaking under the pressure. The architect's creation was merciless, designed to erase any threat to the knowledge it protected. It was not merely a weapon, it was a safeguard, a mechanism to ensure that only those who understood and respected its power could access its secrets. The Xylarians had failed the test, their arrogance sealing their doom. The chamber began to resonate, emitting frequencies that warped space, collapsing dimensions around the intruders. They were being erased, their existence unwinding as the ruins bent reality itself. The monolith's light grew impossibly bright, engulfing the Xylarians in a radiant inferno that dissolved them into particles of light. They had been judged and found unworthy, their legacy reduced to nothingness. As the light faded, the ruins grew silent once more, the carvings dimming to a soft, rhythmic glow. The monolith's pulse slowed, returning to its dormant state, the defense mechanism satisfied. The architect's creation had done its duty, preserving the knowledge and protecting the legacy of a civilization that had understood the cosmos at its deepest level. The ruins would wait patiently, guarding their secrets until a worthy mind came to claim them. The chamber lay silent, the air still heavy with the residual energy of the monolith's judgment. Where the Xylarians had once stood, there was nothing. No trace of their presence remained. The ancient ruins had absorbed them, disassembling their existence at the molecular level, erasing them from reality. The architect's defense mechanism had been thorough, leaving no room for error, no chance for contamination of their legacy. The monolith's glow softened, dimming to a gentle pulse that matched the rhythm of the carvings on the walls. The spiral patterns slowed their rotation, realigning into serene, harmonious designs. The ruins were at peace once more, their purpose fulfilled, their sanctity preserved, but the energy continued to hum, flowing through the conduits and circuits embedded within the stone, maintaining the ancient systems that watched over the knowledge stored within. The chamber seemed to breathe, expanding and contracting with a subtle vibrance. The architect's presence lingered, woven into the very fabric of the structure, a consciousness that transcended time. Their intelligence was not confined to organic life. It was embedded in light, in geometry, in the quantum fields that underpinned existence. They were guardians, eternally vigilant, waiting for the one worthy of their inheritance. Centuries passed, the ruins standing undisturbed beneath the desolate surface of the planet. The galaxy moved on, stars aged and died, civilizations rose and fell, but the monolith endured, its light unwavering. It was patient, for it understood time differently, seeing all moments as interconnected, flowing in cycles that repeated across infinity. The architects had transcended linear existence, and so had their creation. Then, a distant hum broke the silence, a vibration that resonated through the stone, awakening dormant sensors. A signal echoed through the chambers, triggering ancient algorithms that had not been activated in eons. The carvings responded, their glow brightening as they shifted once more, aligning into sequences of anticipation and welcome. The monolith pulsed in recognition. Someone was approaching. A new expedition had arrived, their craft descending with cautious precision. It was a human vessel, its design elegant yet practical, built for exploration and learning. Unlike the Xylarians, these travelers moved with respect, their movements careful, their technology advanced but non-invasive. They scanned the ruins not with arrogance but with curiosity, seeking knowledge rather than conquest. As they entered the ancient halls, the carvings responded, lighting the way with a gentle luminescence that guided them toward the central chamber. The humans marveled at the architecture, recognizing the complexity and intelligence within the designs. They moved slowly, documenting their findings, preserving the integrity of the site, honoring the legacy of those who had come before. The monolith awaited them, its light growing brighter as they approached. It scanned them, analyzing their biology, their neural patterns, their intentions. It saw their curiosity, their respect for knowledge, their humility in the face of the unknown. They were seekers of truth, driven not by greed but by a desire to understand the universe and their place within it. The chamber vibrated softly, the air shimmering with anticipation. The carvings rotated into harmonious patterns, their symbols forming sequences of welcome. The monolith pulsed with recognition. It had found those worthy of the architect's legacy. The defense mechanism remained dormant, the judgment rendered in their favor. These were the heirs the architects had envisioned, the ones who would carry forward the knowledge preserved within the ruins. The monolith's light expanded, enveloping the humans in a warm glow. It connected with their neural interfaces, transmitting data at an unimaginable speed. The humans gasped as the knowledge flowed into their minds, visions of the cosmos unfolding before them. They saw the birth of stars, the formation of galaxies, the intricate dance of dimensions woven together by the architect's understanding of existence. They learned of Earth's true history, of humanity's potential to ascend beyond physical limitations, to master the very fabric of reality. They saw the architect's journey, how they had transcended space and time, becoming beings of light and thought. The ruins were not merely a vault of knowledge, they were a bridge, a gateway to enlightenment. The monolith imparted its wisdom, teaching them the principles of energy manipulation, the harmony of matter and consciousness, the balance of creation and destruction. It showed them the paths their ancestors had taken, the choices that had shaped their destiny, and the potential futures that lay before them. The knowledge was a gift, a guide to lead humanity to its next stage of evolution. The chamber resonated with harmony, the carvings glowing with vibrant colors as the transfer continued. The monolith's light danced, illuminating the humans' faces with hope and wonder. They were the chosen inheritors, the ones who would honor the architect's legacy and use their knowledge to bring balance to the cosmos. As the visions faded, the monolith's light dimmed once more, returning to its steady, rhythmic pulse. The chamber grew quiet, the carvings settling into serene patterns that radiated peace. The transfer was complete, the legacy passed on to a new generation. The ruins had fulfilled their purpose, preserving the knowledge and guiding those worthy of its power. The humans stood in awe, their minds expanded, their spirits enlightened. They had come seeking ruins, but they had found a gateway to the stars, a destiny greater than they had ever imagined. They bowed in reverence, understanding the responsibility they now carried, the legacy they were chosen to protect. As they left the chamber, the monolith pulsed once more, its light shimmering softly in the darkness. It would wait again, guarding the knowledge for future seekers, remaining vigilant across the ages. The architect's legacy endured, guiding the cosmos toward harmony and enlightenment, one worthy soul at a time. Subscribe for more journeys beyond the stars.